Hi everyone, it's Mike here from Guitar Prep School and welcome to the second part of the first things to learn on guitar. And today we're going to be covering reading picture chords. We're going to learn two new chords, that's the chord of G and the chord of A minor. And we're going to be looking at the 12 notes of the fretboard. Now if you missed part one, I suggest you go back and watch that first and then come back here so you can carry on from where we left off on the previous lesson. Alright, and just before I begin, just like to say that there is a link below this video where you can download a free guide to everything that I've mentioned and showed you in the previous lesson and in this lesson. Okay, so make sure you get your free copy of that, because that will be a useful little guide for you to hang on to. Alright, so let's jump right in and start learning. So when you look at a picture chord, you look at it as though you're looking at your guitar from the front. So your E string, the 6th string, is on the left there as you're looking at it. Okay, now in the diagram, this explains some of these elements to you. Along the top, you've got your strings. Now, you won't always see the names of the strings on top of a picture chord, but you just know that all the horizontal lines going down are your strings, and the one on the left is your E string, your bottom E string, which is the thickest string, the 6th string, and they go from the 6th to the 5th, 4th, the 3rd, the 2nd, and the 1st. Your top E string is over on the right there, as you're looking at it. Okay, and then the squares running down are your frets. So you got your 1st fret, your 2nd fret, your 3rd fret, your 4th fret, and it only shows about 4 or 5 frets normally. Then you'll have, if you look at the diagram where on the top of the nut here, you might have a little X over one of the strings. Now that means that that string doesn't get played. Alright, so you have to mute that string when you're playing that particular chord. If you see a small little O over the string, it means that string is played open. Alright, so X is closed, no sound, and O is open. So you play that string without pressing down on any of the frets on that string. You play it open. Alright, and then the hand simply signifies which finger to use and where to press it. Alright, so with your fingers, you know, you got number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4, and those are the circles that you'll see that are placed on the relevant position in the picture chord. Alright, so let's take a look at the picture chord of the first chord we're going to try and play. So this is the chord of A minor, and as you can see from the diagram, we're going to use 3 fingers, and you'll notice a little X over the 6th string, which is the bottom E string. Okay, which means we don't play that string, we don't sound that string. Alright, so let's put our fingers in position first. So we got your 1st finger, which is your index finger, on the 2nd string, which is the B string, on the 1st fret. Alright, just there. And then you take your next finger and put it on the 4th string, which is your D string, on the 2nd fret, just in there. And your 3rd finger then goes just below it on the 3rd string, which is your G string, and also in the 2nd fret. Okay, your 2nd finger will be forced to move into the middle of the fret, which simply because your fingers won't fit in a straight line to sit just immediately behind the fret bar there. Okay, so But there you have your 3 fingers in position there. All right, and don't worry about playing the E string. Just go from the A string and play these strings. Okay, now play each string individually to make sure that they all sound nice and clear. Okay, like we mentioned in the previous lesson, if some of the strings are like that, then you're either not pressing hard enough, or your fingers are too far over the bar of the fret itself, which will not give a clear sound. All right. Now you've got a nice clear note, but how do you not sound? See, if I was to play the E string with it, but I'm not supposed to for this chord, right? It doesn't sound right. The E string doesn't belong in this chord. Yeah. So how do I mute it? Well, where my thumb is, I'm not gonna press down on the 6th string, but I'm just gonna lean against it very, very lightly, so I can strum, but you don't hear the E sound. You don't hear the E notes. Okay, that's just slightly touching it. I'm not pressing down on it, but I'm just slightly touching it. I'm just resting the edge of my thumb against it, so it yeah, I can strum all the way down, but you don't get to hear the E string. Okay, so that's the chord of A minor. Now the next chord we're going to look at is going to be a little bit more difficult. This one. This is going to be the chord of G. So again, if we look at the picture chord, it tells us exactly where to place our fingers. So we're going to go first finger on the A string, which is your 5th string, 2nd fret. And then we're going to take our middle finger and place it on the 6th string, 3rd fret. And then we're going to take our 3rd finger and we're going to place it on the 3rd fret of the 1st string, which is your top E. Okay? Right there, like that. Now, you can probably feel your hand stretching a little bit. Okay? So try and move your thumb a little bit, not to the middle of the back of the neck, but just slightly down below. Just try moving your thumb a little bit, because that'll move your wrist down a little bit, and make sure that your fingers are all sort of, you know, you've got your knuckles bent here, right? So you're not touching any of the other strings, because if you look at the diagram, all the strings that you're not pressing down on need to be played open. All right, so we need to play all 6 strings in a nice clean way. Okay. All right. So go back to the previous lesson if you need to, and just have a recap on how to get clear sounding notes on your chords. All right. But with regular practice, it will come. All of a sudden, it'll click. The more you practice, the more you try the same thing over and over and over, it'll come. Honestly, believe me, it will. All of a sudden, it'll just click. All right? But that's the chord of G. All right? So you've got A minor. Okay, so let's learn the 12 notes of the fretboard. We're going to take the E string, the 6th string, okay, and I'm just going to run through all the notes with you first, and then we're going to cover a few different things to explain things a bit more clearly to you. Now, so the 1st fret, if we press, is going to be F. Then we've got F sharp. Then we've got G. Then we've got A flat, then we've got A, then we've got B flat, then we've got B, then we've got C, then we've got D flat, then we've got D, then we've got E flat, and then we've got E. On the 12th fret, where you got the two notes, the note E is the same, E, as the string played open, right? It's the same note, it's just higher. So the 12th fret for every string is the same note as that string. It's just higher. If I took my top E string, played open, that's E. If I go to the 12th fret, it's the same note. It's just higher. Same on the B string. Open B, 12th fret B. It's the same note. Alright? So, all your open strings are the same note on the 12th fret. There. So you've already learned where another 6 notes are. Alright? So, let's take things a little bit further now. If I go up to the A, right? Remember when, if you look at the diagram, the 5th fret of the 6th string is A. That's the note of A. Now you've got an A string, which is your 5th string, the next string down. If you play that string, that's A. Open, right? So that's the same note. Yeah? Now, the notes in between, for example, G, which is the 3rd fret, and A, which is the 5th fret, you've got a note in between here, which we called A flat. Yeah? And we call it a flat because it's lower than the A. This is A, and that's lower, so it's flat. Okay? But that A flat can also be called G sharp, because there's the G on the 3rd fret, but that note is higher than the G, so it's G sharp. Okay, so if it's higher, it's a sharp. It's a sharp. If it's lower, it's a flat. Alright? Might be a bit confusing at the moment, but you'll get used to the pattern. Alright? There's a few places where that occurs along the neck. It's the same with the F, where we've got the F on the 1st fret. There. If we move up one, it's going to be F sharp. Yeah? But it's also G flat, because it's a note lower than the G, because G is there. But that's lower, so it's G flat as well. Alright? So F sharp and G flat are exactly the same note. It just depends how it's written on what you're looking at. It's the same note. Alright? The same with A flat is the same as G sharp, because it's one note lower from the A, so it's A flat, but it's one note higher from the G, so it's G sharp. But it's the same note. Okay, that's the same note. Alright? Now, as we move up A, B flat, it could also be A sharp, but it's more commonly known as B flat. Okay, so we call it B flat for the purpose of this lesson. And then you've got your B. And from B, the next one is C. So there's no sharp or flat in between B and C. It just goes straight from B to C. B, C. Alright? And then you have your D flat and your D, and your E flat and your E. Alright? And from your E, you repeat, if you go up to the 13th fret, that's F, it just repeats itself, because that's F, yeah? So everything from there on up is the same as from there on up. Right? So let's take this one step further, and if we go, for example, from where the A is on the 6th string, and we go from your open A, alright, so that's A, the same as there, right? So we know that 2 frets up from that A there is B. So if I went on my A string and went 2 frets up, I know that's B as well. It's the same note as the B, as that B. Okay? You see how it's starting to repeat itself? And there's no note in between B and C. There's no flat or sharp. So I know from the B on the A string, the next note's going to be C. Right? So all these notes from A upwards repeat themselves to what they are from here on up. So let's bring up the other diagram where I've got a little example of the A string and the G string showing the names of the frets. And if you look, you will see the pattern that it just repeats itself on every single string. Okay, so all you have to learn is the notes in the order of what they are on the 6th string, and you'll find them in other places on the fretboard, in the fretboard. Right, now an easy way of finding notes on your fretboard, if I press down on the A note of the bottom E string there, and I just count 2 strings down, so not the A string but the D string, right, and 2 frets up, right, so I'm moving down 2 strings and I'm moving up 2 frets. So I'm going to be pressing on the 5th fret of the A string and the 7th fret of the D string. Right? It's the same note. A. Right? Now, that's a little bit of a stretch. That's something that, you know, as your hand supples up, you'll be able to get to these places, right? But it's a bit awkward at first. But you've got 2 strings apart and 2 frets up, right? A. Anywhere you want to go. A flat, G. F sharp, right? F. Okay? Same note. And you can do the same from the 5th fret of the A string and go 2 frets down to the G string on the 7th fret, right? Same notes, aren't they? Alright? So, where you've got the G there, that's G. Which is, that G there is the 12th fret of the G string, so it's G. You see how it comes together? So it's a very, very short lesson on the 12 notes of the fretboard, really, but it's quite simple when you understand that the notes repeat themselves all the way through the fretboard. And the more you play and mess around and find out where those notes are, you'll be playing solos before you know it, right? Honestly. So get your head around the fretboard and just explore your guitar, find out where the notes are, and you know, it'll click. It will click, believe me, whenever you just find things on your guitar. Play along to some music. See if you can find notes that you're listening to. It will click, honestly. All right. So I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. Anyway, for now, take care, guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to click on the link below to download your free guide. All right, and hit that like and subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss my next videos. All right, and I'll see you again soon. All right, take care for now.